don't scare the street dogs. Be nice to them. And being nice is not scaring them, not startling them, not forcing an interaction when they don't want it. Be respectful. Hey, I'm Jeff, Not Dead Yet Adventures, and a lot of times I'll record a video just to rant, to get it off my chest, or I see something stupid, and I make a video and then I'll watch it and nah, whatever. So this video about street dogs, I recorded the other day because I saw a series of interactions with street dogs that just weren't good. And then I had my own interaction with a street dog like 2 days after I recorded this video. So I'm looking at this video again. I think I'm going to post it, obviously, so I'm recording this new intro. But if you want to stick around and see what happened with me and how I dealt with it, hang out till the end. But here's the video. Hey, good morning. I'm Jeff, Not Dead Yet Adventures. I want to talk about dogs, street dogs. I'm here in Albania, and I've had a lot of people, more so than almost any country, talk to me about street dogs in Albania. Are they dangerous? They're scary, this and that. And then the other night I was sitting at a restaurant and I watched somebody do exactly what you shouldn't do with a street dog. And so, I don't know what it is about Albania and people who don't know anything about dogs. I'm not a dog expert. I'm not this, I'm not that. I am a pretty experienced traveler. I did grow up with dogs. I have friends with dogs. I love dogs. I like to play with dogs. But I'm going to talk a little bit about street dogs and what you should and shouldn't do. And then I just watched a really neat video about how to get dogs to release a bite. I'm not sure it will stay up on YouTube. The guy has a disclaimer every time he puts up the video, it gets taken down. But I'll try and find it again and take a screenshot and clip that in around here somewhere. Super useful video about dog bites and how to get them to release. Things I never knew. Things I was never taught, but it's quick, effective, and a lot safer than trying to, put your fingers someplace on a dog when it's trying to bite somebody or somebody, or you, right? So, street dogs. The biggest thing I noticed people's interaction with street dogs is they don't understand dogs. I've been bit by dogs a number of times. I've been bit not significantly or seriously, but I've had my skin broken by dogs a few times, and it's not fun. And, my concern is, I was out in the backpacking, and these people had their dogs out in the middle of the woods, and they didn't know how to control it, and they didn't this, and they weren't going to put it on a leash. And, we're 10 miles, 12 miles from the trailhead, and I'm at the point where I'm like, look, either you control your dog or, I'm going to barbecue it one night. And I said that to get their attention, to, express the seriousness of the situation. But we were at a communal campsite, and, the dog came up and was aggressive to me 3 or 4 times, finally bit me, and it didn't get a good bite before I got it with my stick. And, it has a lot to do, I can break down that whole situation, but in fact, let me just go into that real quick. It was because the dog was scared, right? And the dog was being protective. So dogs like to protect their area. And this is important with street dogs, so follow me on this. They were camped on this corner of the river, and, it's a big dispersed campground, and I had to walk through the corner of this river, on the trail 2 or 3 times a day to get to my campsite and go back to the people I was hanging out with, partying with. And every time I go through, the dog was increasing its area of ownership. It was like saying, this area is mine, I'm protecting it now. But the noise from the river is a shallow river, but making a lot of noise. So the noise from the river was constantly in the dog's ear. So the dog goes from having this hyper awareness of everything around him because of his super hearing and senses to being diminished in a foreign place. Imagine being blind is essentially, the way I would think of it. And all of a sudden you're in a foreign place, you're blind and blah, blah, blah. Now you're scared, worried, right? When it happens in an instant, you're not accustomed to it. And when the dogs consider themselves the protectors, the watchdogs, right? This was a protective breed. And so that whole thing's unsettling, and dogs just don't know how to deal with it. And they constantly, this is my area, this is my protection. So I'm passing through, and it's just getting more and more aggressive with me, telling me not to stay out, but it's a public space, and I need to go through there. I ended up moving my campsite, having a lot of words with those people, but they intentionally or unintentionally set up their dog to fail. You don't take a dog and camp next to a river where it can't hear anything and expect it to be happy, unless you're spending a lot of time with it. And they were too busy drinking and smoking to pay attention to their dog. So it almost got really ugly. I diffused the situation. I moved, and resolved it, but those people are still jerks, right? And they're still idiots. And, and I can tell you a couple other stories like that about campsites and people that don't know anything about their dogs, and they're out in the wild with them, out, letting them run off leash, not understanding the dangers of that, right? So let's circle back to that story about the dog feeling uncomfortable because it was, constantly on alert, being scared, right? So it can't hear like it normally can. So every little thing is shocking it. And so what happens, I see with street dogs and people, is they startle them. So if you see a street dog laying on the road and you're unsure of it, just give a little psst, psst when you're a good distance off. And that pushing that air through your teeth, that psst, psst sound, it's not quite a dog whistle, but it gets that same frequency to where dogs kind of pay attention. Like, oh, I don't hear that every day. Let me look and see what's going on, right? And most dogs, as long as their ears are still decent, they'll see that, they'll look at you, and, it is what it is, right? They're not scared now. You don't want to startle or scare a street dog. That's like the only time I've ever, not the only time, but the majority of the time I've seen street dogs get aggressive is when you're bothering them, right? When you're hassling them, when you're scaring them. And so if you're walking down the sidewalk and there's a couple dogs there and they're laying there or whatever, don't sneak up on them. Don't come up behind them. Don't startle them. Don't scare them, right? They're always scared, right? That's their default. Their default is like, who's going to throw something at me today, right? And unfortunately, that's just the reality of life for street dogs, pretty much anywhere I've been in the world. And we can all lament on how horrible that is, and every dog deserves a home. But I can't solve everybody's problems. I can't solve every dog's problems. Best I can do is be nice to people when I pass them on the street. Same thing with dogs, right? So how do you be nice to a dog? You don't startle it. You don't scare it. Give it a little psst, psst, and talk to it in a calming voice. Talk to it in a rational voice, right? Hello, good morning. Hey, puppy. Things like that. Like, here's a street dog right there. There's two of them, right? And this guy's pretty nice, actually. But I've seen him bark and growl and, get nasty because people startle him or they get aggressive with him. It's not even the shooing away. Most street dogs get shooed away just fine, no problem, right? And I don't think that dog would ever bite somebody just watching it for a few weeks. Unless it was being attacked. But, look, check it out. He likes to lay in the street right there. It's the funniest thing, right? And it's not a big deal. But watching tourists come up and try and move the dog out of the street is just the funniest thing. You see the other dog, look, he's just at home. He's like, look, I'm laying down right there in the middle of the street. These are my roads, and I can chill there all I want, right? So, don't startle street dogs. Feeding street dogs is a tricky thing because if you feed them something they're not used to getting. If you're a tourist, you just start throwing food at them, you're probably going to give them the runs. It's going to end up into a landmine on the sidewalk, and it's just not fun for everybody. A juicy landmine, nobody wants a juicy landmine when they're on vacation, right? So if there's a lot of street dogs, watch where you walk, and just be conscious of if you're going to give them a treat or something, just be conscious and give them something, in line with what they're probably eating. You don't want to give them some crazy, whatever, right? I typically don't go out of my way to feed street dogs. Typically, in my perspective, most street dogs have a routine, a pattern, and there's plenty of people in the community that love them and care for them. If I'm going to do anything with a street dog, I give it some water, sit down, pet it, make sure you wash your hands very well, very, very well afterwards. But things like that, right? And occasionally I'll give them some snacks, right? Some bread is always a good thing. That's pretty safe. A bone, if you have a nice meal and you get a good bone, give it a good bone. Just chicken bones, no, right? Don't be doing that, right? Chicken bones are not safe. And these are things that people that don't know anything about dogs don't know about, right? But if you get a good T-bone, right? It's not a bad bone to give a dog, right? Better, if you really want to do something special, is go find a butcher and get a knuckle or something, like a legit dog bone, and give it to them. Those pig's ears you buy in the store they can chew on, those are good little treats. Green sticks, those are pretty safe treats. But, the whole thing is just be smart about it. Don't startle the dog. So let me tell you I'm at this restaurant the other day, and there's a street dog that's laying there, and people were trying to shoo it away, and, the dog's like, hey, this is my house, I'm staying here. But then this lady does the exact wrong thing. She walks up to it from the backside. There's a lot of music playing, there's a lot of noise, and she comes up from the backside, lays her hands on the dog. No greeting, no nothing, just lays her hands right on that dog, and that dog goes vertical. It's like you've seen the things where people scare their cat and the cat jumps up in the air. This dog jumps up and it is full-blown attack mode. Right there in the restaurant. And it's not trying to attack her, it's just trying to be big, loud, and scary, so whatever startled it, backs up and leaves it alone, because that's all it wants, right? It wants a little food. When it wants attention, it'll seek attention, but most street dogs, they just want to lay down and have a nap. That's just what they do, right? And there's some puppies around here that want to play, and hopefully the one I think got adopted or somebody took it home, thankfully. But most older street dogs, they just want a snack and they want to lay down and be left alone, right? So if you're going to walk up to a street dog, announce yourself, approach it from the front. If you're going to give it a treat, be careful with your fingers and the treat, right? It's better to set it on the ground and encourage them to take it from there, right? Unless you've already got a rapport with them. But it's building that rapport with a dog that you don't know that is always dangerous. And if you're out in the wild, or you're around somebody's house, or that dog is taking ownership of that little space, you need to give it its proper courtesies and respect, right? You need to be aware that, hey, that dog considers that his home, the people around him, his family, and he's going to protect them against things he doesn't know, like you. And if he doesn't know you, and you're intimidating or threatening or look like prey, you might have a problem. Dogs don't like to be intimidated. Dogs don't like to be threatened. So there's a lot of things you can watch other dog channels about and learn how to approach dogs, learn how to do this, that. My whole thing is leave them alone. If you're a tourist, leave them alone. This is not your culture. It doesn't matter where you're at in the world, right? They're not your dogs. If you want to be nice to them, give them some water, let them approach you, things like that. But this is not your world. You're a tourist. If you live here for an extended period of time and you're going to take responsibility for a dog, take it in, house it, train it, take care of it, then it's your dog, right? Boy, this worked out perfect. There's a little guy over there. There he is. He's the little shit stirrer. Yeah, I didn't even plan on that. That's so funny. But yeah, I mean, they're dogs. They're going to do what dogs do. But don't put yourself in harm's way by being stupid. And being stupid is scaring the dog, startling the dog, trying to force an interaction with an animal that maybe doesn't want to be nice to you or be like you, right? Not everybody on the planet is going to like you. Not every dog is going to like you. Too funny. So one other story that's kind of funny to me is, anyway, I was in this country, right, foreign country, and this lady had a dog, and it was off leash, and I'm like, oh, do you mind if I pet it? And she's like, oh yeah, no problem. And it comes, so I give it a little, and it comes running over to me, right? We're in a park type setting, and I've been down, and it smells my hand and everything, and we're going back and forth, and dog's becoming my friend like this, right? Next thing you know, I stand up and it jumps up. It's a full-size dog and it's got its paws up here. It's licking my face. It's going to town, right? We're having a good time. And the lady comes running. Oh my God, get down. I'm so sorry. And she didn't know that that's me, right? Some dogs just like me that much. And it was just the funniest thing because she was so concerned about my shirt and my this and that, and I'm like, it's a beautiful dog, it's a lovely dog, like I love it, right? And it was just so funny. But you have to be ready for that, because again, you don't know what kind of dog you're meeting unless you know the dog already. If you don't have a relationship, it may be a hugger, it may be a kisser, it may be a licker, it may be a biter, maybe a nipper. You don't know, right? The dog may pee on you, may get so excited it pees on you. Those are all things you need to have in your mind. Are you ready for this encounter? Are you ready for this meeting? Dogs aren't people. Usually when people don't like you, they just shut up and go away. Usually when they do like you, they get closer, right? They talk more, they get excited, right? And some people just reach out and hug you. That's very rare these days. But it happens, right? But with dogs, all of it happens and none of it's within your control. It's going to happen, whether you like it or not, and how you handle it is up to you. But don't scare the street dogs. Be nice to them. And being nice is not scaring them, not startling them, not forcing an interaction when they don't want it. Be respectful. Anyway, that's all I got to say about street dogs. I will reiterate, I will say again, wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. I doubt these dogs are being dewormed. I doubt this. I doubt that, right? So clean your hands very, very good if you handle a street dog. It's just nature. That's all it is. It's just nature. I'm not trying to be rude or derogatory or diminutive or whatever. I'm not trying to talk shit. It's just nature. So use a good soap and wash your hands. Anyway, see you, bye. Okay, so about 2 days ago, 3 days ago, I don't know. It was a few days ago. It was pretty late at night. I was hanging out having coffee till, 11, 12 o'clock at night. I go down the stairs, I walk along the beach for a little bit, and then go up to my apartment, or the apartment I'm staying at. And as I go down the stairs towards the beach, this dog starts barking. Now he's way out on the beach. It's not a big beach, but he's way out on the beach by the water, and he is focused on something. And I'm just kind of like, I make a mental note, but I'm just walking because, it's far away. Why is he, it wouldn't be me, right? There's no reason I would think it's me. And as I'm walking down the walkway, I see the dog coming up the beach towards me from the right, and now I realize he's focused on me. He's paying attention to me. He's barking at me. He's not happy with me, and I have no idea why. There's a bunch of people around. There's people selling this. I was actually distracted by the pizza because I was really hungry, and this guy had some pizza, and I was like, maybe I want some pizza, and then I noticed that the dog is paying attention to me. So what to do now? keep walking, right? Now here's a mistake I see a lot of people make. Don't ever let dogs follow you. They'll try to follow you, and I don't know what his hang up was. Like, the best theory I can come up with, I'm not a dog whisperer, I'm not a dog like aficionado or an expert or anything, but the best thing I could come up with is maybe he saw me as like the bear, and he wanted the bear out of his little area or something. He saw me as a threat, and I came to that hypothesis because of a lot of his behaviors and mannerisms. When I turned and approached him, he would get very cowish and skittish. Tail even went between his legs a few times, but he wouldn't retreat, wouldn't back up, wouldn't go away. I tried shooing away, I tried this, I tried that. Obviously, the first thing I tried to do was be nice and greet the dog. That went nowhere. And I never let the dog get close to me. But every time I turned my back to the dog would accelerate towards me. And I'd turn, it's like playing with a little kid, right? You turn, like hide and go seek or something. And I'd catch the dog accelerating towards me. Never let that happen, because what dogs will invariably do is they'll sneak up behind you and they'll nip you or something, but they like to attack from behind when you're not paying attention. So it started to get serious, and at one point, like, I'm clear of what I thought would be his area. I was probably twice the distance from, if you go to the base of the stairs to where the dog was, and now go down the walkway, I was probably twice that distance from the base of the stairs to where the dog initially started. So it made no sense other than something about the dog, just didn't like me that day. I don't know. And there's tons of people around. So finally, one of the locals, I turned and the dog got really aggressive, and then it quieted down as I confronted it, walking towards it aggressively, psst, psst, hey, go, things like that, right? And, it wouldn't retreat, but whatever. So I turned and, I test it and turn my back to it, and it just gets crazy loud and aggressive and comes at me. And then one of the locals stepped in and grabbed it. And now here's the funny thing about it, and then I was able to make it away. And here's the funny thing about that, is I have seen that specific dog no less than 20 times, 30 times this year, no less than 20 for sure. I've spent time petting that dog before. I've given that dog treats before. So I don't know what its hang up was. I don't know if it was a scent on me, or something, but there was something weird in the air, and that happens from time to time, right? You never know. Dogs are like people in the sense that, they have personalities, and one day they'll be great, next day they won't be so great, right? So we don't really know, I don't really care. But the key takeaway here is don't turn your back to the dog. And, I'm 100% confident that, nothing serious would have happened. I might have gotten some scratches, some puncture wounds from a few bites, but I don't think, it would have been a serious fight with a dog. I don't know what it was, but just have that in the back of your mind. And when you see dogs, I don't know if I covered this well enough, but when you see dogs, don't let dogs sneak up behind you. Just like I said, don't sneak up on dogs, don't approach dogs, don't scare dogs, don't startle dogs, right? Don't let dogs follow you behind you unless you know absolutely they are super friendly, because it's a common practice for dogs to just kind of nip you or bite you, or that's been my experience, right? Probably 8 out of 10 times I've been bit by a dog, it was exactly that, right? And the other ones, it wasn't. I'll just leave it there. But yeah, so don't let dogs sneak up behind you. Don't let stray dogs sneak up behind you. And even when people say their dog is friendly, always approach with caution. I had this one dog that got up in my face, and we're petting each other and everything's good. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was me or somewhere, it caught a whiff. And I think I know what the whiff was. And it wasn't me, it was somebody down the street. And that dog just went nuts, went crazy. And got super aggressive with me. And fortunately, it was close enough where I already had hands on it, and it had a collar, so I was able to hook my fingers into the collar and kind of hold it at a distance until the owner who was right there. And, very, very swift and great actions of the owner. No dig on the owner, no dig on the dog. It was just something hit it, right? Something said no. And this is after, we were like right here. And so I was able to, I was petting the dog, and I was able to just get two hands on the collar like this, with my collar coming around like that, and just hold the dog back by the collar. But, and I have a lot of interactions with dogs because I like dogs. So, it is what it is, right? But I just thought that was so funny that I made the video about dogs, and then I had my own interaction with dogs. It was kind of, yeah. And if it wasn't 11:30, 12 at night on a dark walkway on a dark beach, probably never would have happened, right? And ironically, I just saw that dog like 2 hours ago, walk by and, say good morning to him, no reaction. He just kind of looked at me. No reaction. So you never know. You never know what triggers it. You never know what starts it. But, anyway, see you, bye. I mean, they're dogs. They're going to do what dogs do. But don't put yourself in harm's way by being stupid. And being stupid is scaring the dog, startling the dog, trying to force an interaction with an animal that maybe doesn't want to be nice to you or be like you, right? Not everybody on the planet is going to like you. Not every dog is going to like you.